before the sun fully rose over the rice fields of South Carolina, the drums of freedom began to beat. Not from a palace. Not from an army. But from the hands of enslaved Africans who had decided, on a quiet Sunday morning in September 1739, that they would rather die fighting than live in chains. This was the beginning of the Stono Rebellion, the largest and most significant slave uprising in colonial South Carolina, and one of the most daring acts of resistance in early American history. The world they lived in. By the early 1700s, South Carolina was built on enslaved labor. Africans, many from the Kingdom of Congo, outnumbered white colonists. They worked brutal hours on rice plantations, beaten, starved, and stripped of family, language, and freedom. But many of them carried something their enslavers underestimated: military knowledge, shared culture, and a burning memory of freedom. Spain, just south in Florida, had promised freedom to enslaved people who escaped British colonies and reached St. Augustine. That promise spread like wildfire in whispers, songs, and secret conversations. Hope was dangerous. And hope was exactly what ignited Stono. The morning of the rebellion. On September 9, 1739, near the Stono River, about 20 enslaved men gathered at dawn. Their leader, believed to be a man named Jemmy, or Cato, was likely educated, possibly literate, and possibly a former soldier. They broke into a storehouse. They seized guns, powder, and swords. They raised a banner and began to march south. As they moved, their numbers grew, eventually reaching nearly 80 rebels. They beat drums. They shouted liberty. They burned plantations and killed slaveholders who stood in their way. This was not chaos. This was organized resistance. Their goal was clear: reach Spanish Florida and be free. Fear spreads faster than fire. White colonists were stunned. They had believed control was absolute. They had believed fear was enough. They were wrong. Local militias were quickly organized. Armed colonists intercepted the rebels before they could reach Florida. A violent battle followed. Many rebels were killed on the spot. Others were captured, executed, and their bodies displayed as a warning. By the end, dozens of Africans were dead, but so was the myth that enslaved people would never fight back. The aftermath that changed history. The rebellion terrified slaveholding colonies. In response, South Carolina passed the Negro Act of 1740, one of the harshest slave codes in history. It banned enslaved Africans from assembling, forbade them from earning money, made education illegal, tightened surveillance and punishment. The colonists tried to crush rebellion by crushing every remaining trace of autonomy. But something irreversible had already happened. Why the Stono Rebellion still matters. The Stono Rebellion shattered the lie that enslaved Africans were passive victims. It proved they planned, organized, resisted, fought for freedom long before the American Revolution. It reminds us that the struggle for liberty in America did not begin in 1776. It began in chains. It began with drums. It began with people who were never meant to win, but refused to surrender. The rebels never reached Florida. But their courage crossed centuries. And it leaves us with an unsettling question, one history still hasn't fully answered. If enslaved people were brave enough to risk everything for freedom in 1739, what other stories of resistance were silenced before they could be heard? Those drums didn't stop beating. We're just finally listening. To watch the full video, click the link on our bio, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting hidden historical fact.